Imagine a place where there are no taxes, no federal regulations, and no public elections. A place where every square inch of land, every building, and every utility is owned by a single board of directors. You might think this is a sci-fi dystopia, but inside the borders of the United States, this place has existed for over 50 years. In 1967, the Walt Disney Company pulled off the greatest legal heist in corporate history. They convinced the state of Florida to grant them a private government jurisdiction called the Reedy Creek Improvement District. Overnight, a media enterprise was handed the legal powers of a sovereign county. They could build their own nuclear power plants, enforce their own building codes, issue tax-free bonds, and bypass all local planning laws. For half a century, Disney operated as a state within a state. But in the mid-2020s, the political landscape shifted, and the corporation realized that relying on the mercy of traditional politicians was a massive threat to their bottom line. The lesson was clear: to protect a multi-billion-dollar real estate empire, Disney didn't need better lobbyists. They needed complete, absolute autonomy. They didn't buy a foreign country. They weaponized the ultimate legal loophole right on American soil, expanding their existing private district into a fully independent economic entity. Welcome to What If Commerce, and this is how Disney built the world's first corporate republic. To understand how a corporation achieves absolute sovereignty without firing a single bullet, you have to look at infrastructure. Traditional governments are bound by public utility laws. The Disney Republic is not. Inside this territory, the corporation owns the power grid, the water treatment plants, and the entire telecommunications network. They don't lease infrastructure from the state. They built a parallel society. If you live or operate a business within their digital borders, your electricity doesn't come from a public utility company. It comes from Disney Energy. But owning the physical grid is only step one. Step two is controlling the financial medium. In the Disney Republic, the US dollar is obsolete. All transactions are processed through a proprietary digital ledger. Every resident and visitor uses a unified smart device to pay for housing, food, and transit. Because the corporation operates the network, they charge an automatic internal transaction fee on every exchange, completely bypassing traditional banking systems. They effectively print their own digital currency, backed not by gold or central banks, but by the undeniable real estate value of the most profitable land on Earth. When you step into public territory, your safety is guaranteed by constitutional law, public courts, and local police forces. But inside a private republic, law enforcement is transformed into a premium corporate service. The Disney Republic doesn't utilize public sheriff departments. They employ an elite, fully privatized security apparatus. These are not low-wage mall security guards. This is a highly trained, privately funded tactical force with full legal jurisdiction over the entire district, granted through decades of specialized legislative exemptions. Their primary mandate isn't to uphold a public penal code, it is to protect the corporate image, prevent civil unrest, and maximize property value. There are no public police reports here. If a crime happens inside the borders, it is handled internally, quietly, and away from the eyes of the media. This setup creates a radical, dystopian shift in the legal landscape. In a traditional city, a police officer needs probable cause and judicial warrants to enter your home or freeze your assets. But in the Republic, the supreme law of the land isn't the Constitution, it is the terms of service. When you purchase a corporate modular home or sign a commercial lease within their zone, you sign a binding digital contract. If you violate the corporate guidelines, drop your social credit score, or express public dissent that harms the brand's economic stability, you aren't just fined by a public court. Your digital access token is instantly revoked by a system algorithm. Your smart lock freezes, your utilities are suspended, and you are legally trespassed from the district. The corporation doesn't need prisons when they can simply delete your access to their infrastructure and cast you out into the public world. Why would global capital and top-tier corporations flock to a corporate surveillance state? The answer is hyper-efficiency and regulatory arbitrage. Traditional real estate developers spend years dealing with local zoning boards, environmental impacts, and shifting political administrations. In the Republic, Disney is the zoning board. They can approve a 50-story commercial skyscraper or a massive automated AI distribution hub in less than 48 hours. By completely eliminating state bureaucracy, they created a playground of absolute corporate freedom. Global logistics firms, tech labs, and luxury retail giants pay premium rent to operate inside this corporate oasis, because the cost of legal compliance is virtually zero. It is capitalism in its purest, most frictionless form. But this economic miracle triggers an inevitable, massive geopolitical crisis. As billions of dollars in taxable wealth migrate into the private district, surrounding public cities begin to starve for revenue. Local governments, furious at losing their tax base, attempt to pass emergency federal legislation to strip the corporation of its historic charters. A brutal economic siege begins. The state government threatens to cut off external transit highways, shut down public rail lines, and levy massive tariffs on goods entering the private zone. But the corporate republic retaliates by leveraging its ultimate weapon, global media influence. They threaten to pull all advertising revenue from regional networks, cancel multi-billion-dollar state investments, and reroute their global supply lines to completely cripple the local economy. It's no longer a battle of politics. It is a total war of economic leverage between a state government and a trillion-dollar mega-corporation. The ultimate question of the Disney Republic isn't whether this system works, it's the true price of admission. Within its walls, society is pristine. There is no homelessness, no litter, no infrastructure decay, and no political chaos. It is a flawless masterpiece of corporate engineering, but it is an engineering project built on the complete and total surrender of your civic rights. In this new world, you trade your political vote for an optimized lifestyle. You exchange public transparency for a corporate non-disclosure agreement. It is the birth of corporate neo-feudalism. We spent centuries moving away from feudal lords who owned the very land we lived and worked on. Yet today, as public systems struggle, the allure of a frictionless, corporate-managed world is growing stronger every single day. The scariest part of this economic simulation isn't that a company could build a private state, it's that millions of people would willingly line up to buy a ticket to live in it. This was What If Commerce. Make sure you subscribed and let us know in the comments below. Would you trade your vote for a perfect corporate life, or complete freedom is your top priority? Thanks for watching, and see you in the next simulation.